Hello, my darlings. My name is Victoria, and this is Veritas Tarot. I'm going to do your daily mini reading for you today, my darlings. We are using the Shaman's Dream Oracle, which I haven't used in a little while. And we're going to see what card wants to come out for you today. If it resonates, this is a reading for you at a particular divine timing for you. You are simply remembering what you already know, my darling. So let's see what wants to come out for you for today. Thank you, Spirit. And these readings are timeless, so they are for whenever you are guided to see them and resonate with them. Thank you, Spirit. What have we got? We've got authentic self, and we have nothing on the bottom of the deck. The deck is turned over. So we're just going to pull the one card today, authentic self. Very interesting, the authentic self. Authentic self, what do we mean by authentic? Let's show you that card. And you've got here many different masks. So first of all, actually, I want to talk about masks, because when we talk about being a human being, we also talk about people, don't we? And people are persons, and persons is persona, and persona, the original word of persona is mask. So we all wear different masks with different people. Sometimes we've learned to wear various masks to fit into what we perceive to be normal, or what we perceive society to be. You know, we're different sometimes with different people, aren't we? We're different with our parents than we are with our friends. So we've learned to adapt. We've learned to wear different masks in different situations. But the one mask, my darling, that never, ever, ever changes, not really a mask, is your authentic self, your essence of you that sits as your soul behind everything, very quietly, doesn't interfere, but is perfectly content and perfectly at peace. And that's because, and you've heard me say this many times, your soul is source energy. Your soul is connected to everything. Your soul is life itself. So it is not needing to be anything other than it is. It is just, it is life itself, and it is there. But we have the authentic self. The word authentic, when we talk about authentic actions as well, when we do something with authenticity, it is something that is genuine. It is something that feels right. It is something that sits right with us. It is something that is of a value as well. And it's something that fits with your personality. It sits right with your identity and your personality. So let me come on to that. Your identity and personality, my darling, is something that has been created since you were born. It is something, again, that is conditioned by the environment that you grew up in, that you live in. It is conditioned, it is programmed by things that you've told yourself. It is conditioned and programmed by things that others have told you. But you never really get to know who your true self is if you exist simply in that identity and personality, because you're different with different people. And that's why we're here as a soul. We're here to have a human experience. And when we're here having a human experience, the soul comes here, it forgets everything. And then when we resonate with something, when something feels authentic to us, we are remembering what we already know, that infinite source energy, source wisdom. And when we are authentic as well, we are very honest with ourselves about how we feel things, how we see things. So, you know, we can't control what we see, but we can control our perception of it. We can control how we respond to something, how we take responsibility for something. Now, the ego, the identity personality, this is the ego self, doesn't really like to take responsibility for things, because the ego is always on a sort of high radar alert. It's always defensive, it's always protective, it's always trying to keep things that we want to keep, and it's always searching for what it is not. So I hope you're bearing with me on this one, because this is a really important card, this authentic self. And when you come back into when I'm talking about looking at things and taking responsibility for things, it's about looking at things from a deeper, broader awareness. So where I say, you know, we are responsible for not what we see, but how we perceive it. And I talked before about you and only you have direct perception of yourself, and everybody else only has direct perception of themselves. But this persona that we have, it's a false self. It's not your authentic self. And the false self, from that identity and personality from when we were little and trying to conform into what other people wanted us to be and what we felt that we should be, and trying to bring in some form of consistency to our lives, that false self is born out of all of it. And when we see ourselves as a separate identity, as a separate personality, then we feel fear, don't we? And we feel that we have to control things, and we feel that we have to make things happen. We feel a sense of separation, where your authentic self, and we also feel judgmental and we feel defensive, all of those things. Your authentic self doesn't feel any of those things. And I was it yesterday or the day before, I was thinking about explaining about the ego, because I think we had the death card in a reading about ego and soul. And I have said to you before that the ego and the aware state, the ego state of being and the aware state of being can't coexist. So when we make a choice and a decision to take a step back and not react to things, but take responsibility to respond with a considered action, then the ego and the aware state can't coexist. You are either one or the other. So this is about you taking responsibility. And I was trying to think, because I love to talk about nature, about two representatives in nature that might talk about the ego self and your higher self or your authentic self. And as I was thinking about this in my garden, first of all, a wasp appeared and then a bee appeared. And I thought that's perfect, because the wasp is about something that attacks, something that is defensive, something that reacts, doesn't stop to consider, have a considered option, just reacts. And it's pretty angry, the wasp, isn't it, all the time? Well, the bee, we all adore the honeybee. And the honeybee just minds its own business and it just gets on and it flies from flower to flower, and it's doing what it's doing instinctively for itself, but also for the greater good of everybody else. So you always, my darling, have a choice to choose in any given situation, any experience that you're going through. Do you want to be your authentic self or your ego self? Do you want to react or do you want to respond? And that is your choice. And when you, and this is what Spirit wants you to do, is if you're facing an obstacle at this time, try a new approach. Try and approach with perhaps why you've been drawn to this reading, with looking at something and thinking, okay, do I need to have this, and this from this situation? Do I need to have an apology? Do I need to have assurances from somebody that they're not going to do this again? Do I need to have promises from them? Do I need to have guarantees? We can't guarantee. We're human beings. We make mistakes, we do things, and then always life kind of gets in the way. So think about what actually you do want from the situation, and whether that want is coming from your ego self, or whether actually you don't need it. You don't really want it outside of your ego self. It's actually, if you're looking at it from your aware state of being, from your soul, from your authentic self, what do you need from this situation? And actually, it's about you taking responsibility for this. Now, what I mean by that, again, is considered action. It is looking at whatever this is, and looking at actually the parts that have been played by both egos or both souls. So looking at the soul gift in it, but also looking at, if you look at it with ego fights ego and soul listens to soul, what is it that will resonate with you? What does it will help you grow from this situation? And it is to take responsibility. It is to look at the bigger picture, the wider picture, maybe not quite how you're seeing it through the ego. Start to look at it through a soul's eyes and see the gift in it. But also to speak your truth, to say thank you for the right words and express how you are feeling, but then not to take it any further. Because it's the ego that needs the reassurance. You don't need the reassurance if you're in the aware state of being. And sometimes when we simply express our truth and then we have silence, then we just stop. We allow that liberated energy of expressing ourselves to then transform into something else, because energy doesn't die. And you allow that person, you allow them a space to then respond themselves. Remember, ego fights ego. So the soul will always take responsibility, taking considered action. And if you choose to express yourself in your authentic self, then you are allowing this opportunity to resolve itself naturally. And I mean, if you're finding yourself in a state of anger and you're in a mood, in that mood, because you see, mood is a kind of a temporary situation about how we're feeling. And, you know, we can be happy or sad. We can have a happy or a sad mood. And if we're in a certain mood, our feelings respond or react to that. And the soul will tend to always, it's a little bit shy, the soul. It won't really interfere if you're having a bit of a moment about things, because it can't be heard over that noise. So if you allow yourself to be still, to breathe, to sit in the stillness, and to ask the soul what it is that the soul would like from the situation, what it is that you're aware, your authentic self would like from the situation, in order for you to learn and to grow from it, you will receive that. You will receive that information. I'm just thinking if there's anything else that Spirit wants me to say. Yes, of course. So with the soul being the bee and the wasp being the ego self, Spirit's been quite amusing. Just be. Spirit is saying, just be. Try and almost experiment, as I said, of the next time you get triggered by something, you know, in that moment you're observing that you're being triggered. Do nothing. Do nothing. Take time out and look to just be the bee. Say, do you know what? I'm going to be the bee today, and I'm going to sit and I'm going to allow myself to look at this from a different perspective. And I'm going to allow in myself, in that being state, not that doing state, I'm going to allow my soul's awareness to come through for me at this time, because you will always in that space resolve something naturally, as opposed to trying to force something to happen. And remember as well that everybody is doing the best they possibly can from their level of awareness. And so if you shift your level of awareness, you will have a beautiful energetic impact on others, because your energy is speaking its own language. Remember that you don't need to necessarily speak or write for others to understand. It's vibes, isn't it? It's vibrations. Your energy speaks its own language. And so therefore, if you are in a place of not being bothered, of understanding what has happened and why it's happened, looking for the gifts in it, then you will shift something through that vibration in that aware state that you otherwise wouldn't have done if ego was attacking ego. So remember that. And soul is calm, darling. Soul is peace. And when you make a decision about what it is you wish to do, tap into your feelings of the universe speaking to you. Tap into how your body feels, because your body won't lie to you. Tap in, remove the mind, okay? Remove the mind, that naughty mind that's looking for reasons to blame others and do everything. Shut down the mind and just sit with your feelings, the physical feelings, without the context of the mind, and say, how do I feel about what I'm about to do? Does it feel good? Does it bring me relief? Does it bring me peace? Do I feel anxiety in the pit of my stomach? Go with those feelings, because that is your authentic self talking to you and giving you guidance. It's a really, really, really good tool to do. Anyway, I'm going to finish on that note, because I've been talking for far too long about one card, but it was a really, really lovely card to choose. And there we are, your authentic self, my darling. Many, many, many masks, many selves, but there is only one authentic self, and that is you as the universe experiencing itself as life itself. So have a lovely evening, and I look forward to doing another reading for you tomorrow. So much love. Take care. Bye-bye.